Blockchains publicly display transactions on a ledger that is available to everyone. Even though the vast majority of people have not adopted this technology yet, the amount of data at our fingertips is overwhelming. There is so much information to sift through. In this new age of transparency, it's not having enough information, it is having too much data. I believe this is where AI will play a key role during the next few years. Today, we'll discuss the necessary meaning of AI in Web3. Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. I've had many ideas about AI over the course of this show, and I've said it many times. If you just search through whichever podcast app that you're listening to, when you go to the show, just type in AI, and you'll see multiple episodes pop up. However, in particular, what really sparked this idea is it reminds me of the 90s, the early 2000s, when we got to the point of having too much information. Because I remember when I was in elementary school, the early 90s, the internet was just really starting up and what have you, and we were talking about the information superhighway. And then by the time I was in middle school, high school, it got to the point where it was no longer having the ability to have all this information, being able to get these things and research very quickly. It was having too much of it and the feat of having to search through it. And at this time, countless companies were trying to come out with the first search engine. We had Webcrawler, Lycos, AltaVista, Excite, Yahoo, Dogpile, Axe, Jeeves, and so many before we finally came to Google. And it's something that we take for granted because it has just become a part of our speech right now. Anytime you're trying to find something online, say, hey, just Google that. And even though right now, I would argue that Bing is way better. I've been using it ever since they implemented ChatGPT into the features. And I have to tell you, it is just blowing me away. I absolutely love it more. You don't have to sift through all of those search ads and what have you. But that is another topic altogether. Going back to this whole thing, on the blockchain, it is so much sifting through all of that information. So AI can really help with that because this ledger that we have has every single transaction and the information is just abundant. It keeps growing exponentially as the blockchains get bigger and bigger and bigger. Not to mention, more people are coming on board. And as more apps come online, there's more smart contracts. Guess what? The information is going to keep compounding as well. So we're going to need better ways of searching through this information. Right now, using block explorers like Etherscan or Blocks.io, Polyscan, SoulScan, and so forth, really does not help us as much as we think because so many transactions are going through on each block containing so much information that is hard to keep track of everything. Sure, you can look at a specific wallet and see what's happening, but when you're looking at the broad overview, trying to pull data and trends, it gets very difficult. So much so that some of these sites that track these blockchains and are giving stats and data will exclude blockchains such as Wax that has just way too much data, way too much information for them to process. And that point becomes expensive, so they just exclude it. They act like it doesn't even happen. But what if someone really wants to sift through and figure out what's happening on Wax? It becomes very difficult. Or even on Solana. Solana is very difficult to search through because there's so much more transactions going on as compared to what's happening on Ethereum, for example. So having the ability to write some sort of code to really sift through all of that if you're looking for something specific, for example, let's say wash trading. In case you're not familiar, wash trading is very common within this NFT space, especially what we're seeing right now with Blur, where people have multiple wallets and they're selling back and forth between each other in order to just rack up those sales and get those points for the Blur airdrop. It's artificial, it is unnatural, and in many cases, they're actually selling to themselves and losing whatever gas fee or transaction fee that they're willing to pay in order to just get that volume going. Or in the case of the early days of when there was a complete bull market with these NFTs, normally what people were trying to do was get trending on any of these charts within the last hour or so. And anytime you'd rise to the top 5, top 10, it was almost guaranteed that that project was going to sell out or mint out. So that was what people were doing. And even if it meant just trading back and forth between the people that were in the collection that launched the project or whatever it is, they were just trying to get noticed and picked up. However, it was pretty hard to see if it was an influencer with 10 wallets or if this was legitimate trading. But I think that is something that AI can definitely help with because if you look at certain patterns, being able to look up in the trends of what a wash trader would do, you can write some sort of script or some code to then analyze everything and go through with that. But then as an individual, it gets very hard because you're trying to track so many wallets, you're looking for so many variables, and these influencers slash scammers, whatever you want to call them, have gotten so good at that, and they're doing all sorts of different tactics. So AI has the ability to then learn from what they're doing, observing what's happening in real time, and adapt and keep twisting. And as these people are changing their tactics, AI can see, well, that is not natural, and just add that into their variables to be able to track down what is possibly wash trading, what is a fraudulent wallet, where scammers are moving things. You know, there's different people doing all sorts of hacks and phishing attacks and scamming and getting people to do different things, but being able to track down certain things and possibly identify dangerous contracts or wallets is something that I could see AI doing in the future. But a lot of time we're speaking about AI, we're thinking of the generative art, but there's so much more that can even go on that. Yesterday, I don't know if you noticed this, but OpenAI, of course, the creator of ChatGPT and DALL-E and so forth, had a demo that they released for GPT-4. And that is the most advanced model, that the one that they're rolling out right now. We've been pretty much using GPT-3 and 3.5 when we're using ChatGPT. But if you go into the actual developer dashboard and what have you, they just rolled out GPT-4 that they're onboarding people right now to test it and use it, the API, to develop apps and do all sorts of cool things. But one of the demos that they did, which really caught my attention, was the development of a Discord bot. And they put in all the information as to what was needed for this bot. GPT-4 was able to generate the code for that Discord bot and then spit it back in a way that could be implemented on a server. And I thought that was just a very cool implementation. Now, that is just a simple surface level thing that would be within an NFT project or within a Discord server. However, just think of all the things that it could do. Maybe you don't necessarily need some sort of massive AI sifting through every single transaction or looking for wash trading or potential scams and what have you. Maybe you just have a specific use. Maybe you just want to be notified when something hits the market at a floor price or anything. There's all sorts of things that an individual might just want to do, and it might not be something that has a mass appeal, because each of us have our different needs, have our different goals, we're tracking different projects and so forth. So let's just say that you have something that is very simple, easy to code, but you're not a coder. Well, that's where AI could help you to just get a simple notification for a specific thing. So going forward, I think the problem is not having the data at our fingertips, the ability to look on the blockchain and see everything. The problem is having too much information in our face and then just getting overwhelmed and then not being able to find anything. So it's like the difference between having a newspaper and walking into the Library of Alexandria, right? These massive libraries, books everywhere, information everywhere, versus what's in your hand as a newspaper. You can sit on a train or a commute, whatever it might be, and just read that newspaper. But you walk into the library, a massive library like the Library of Congress or the one at Alexandria, and you just look around at all those volumes and books and you don't even know where to start or what you're possibly going to. So many times it'll be like a deer in headlights just staring up at, wow, this is a lot of information. And that's what it's like looking at Etherscan or some of these block explorers. So AI could really help us to just get that under our nose and make it a little bit more user-friendly and give us some data that we actually need, not everything. But I'd love to know your thoughts on that. And in case you're interested in that, I'm going to actually leave the link for that video, that demo, which I thought was just very cool. AI is a lot more than just generative art. There's some interesting things that are happening here. So if there's anything that you're seeing, some implementations, I would love to see it. Love to know your thoughts on it. Please feel free to reach out to me at Tropic Vibes on Twitter. But as usual, I just want to thank you for taking time to listen to this as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later. The Nifty Business Arrow is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.